The biggest key to victory for the Aggies, if they want to take down the Hogs on Saturday, is keeping Max Johnson safe so he can find open receivers downfield.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today, we are going to talk about some keys to a Texas A&M victory on Saturday. And the first one is keeping Max Johnson in a clean pocket. Max Johnson, of course, is coming into this ballgame. He played the second half against Auburn, looked good. He got a few snaps in some games earlier in the season thanks to the fact that the Aggies are blowing some teams out. But now you play Arkansas, and it's the Max Johnson show. Talk to some different connections in the Arkansas media, and the one topic that I am constantly hearing, they're not confident in their secondary. So the way they are going to combat their lack of confidence in the secondary is by trying to get after Max Johnson with pressure. If they're able to get pressure on Max Johnson, he has to find a way to make the right decision. Pressure means that there's going to be receivers open downfield. I believe these Texas A&M wide receivers are going to get open one-on-one against Arkansas secondary. The numbers from Arkansas secondary, are they awful? No. Are they great? Also no. They're kind of just, numbers. And I trust in this room full of Evan Stewart, Noah Thomas should be out there, it sounds like, Aniyah Smith, and Moose and Johnny Walker. Now you got to start throwing him into this conversation. I trust in these guys to be able to get open on this Arkansas secondary. If they're able to get open, Max Johnson has to get them the football. And that is why the offensive line needs to give him time to do that. If the offensive line can give him time to do that, I think that the Aggies are going to score points at will on Saturday. Move the football up and down the field. And then this game will come down to the defense, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But you have to be willing to take the check down also if you're Max Johnson. The wide receivers, are they going to be open a good amount? I think so. Are they going to be open on every single play? I don't. There's going to be reps that the Arkansas secondary wins. That's just part of football. So what you're going to have to do is be willing to take the check down, whether it's to your brother if you're Max Johnson, whether it's to Le'Veon Moss, Amari Daniels, or Reuben Owens coming out of the backfield. You have to be willing to take the check down because if they're bringing that pressure, I would much rather take 2nd and 4 because you dumped it off to your brother in the flat and he got 6 yards than 2nd and 16 because you took a sack. I mean, that's the difference. And it sounds silly, but genuinely a difference in getting the ball to your check down or getting sacked. Look at it like this. You dump it off to your check down. Let's say they don't pick up 6 yards. They don't pick up 5 yards. They get to the line of scrimmage and get taken down. 2nd and 10 is still better than 2nd and 16. So I think Max Johnson's got to be willing to give the ball to his check down. That's what makes quarterbacks great, is being willing to give the ball to your check down. And that's sometimes how you beat pressure. So that's what I want to see. I want to see Max Johnson. First of all, the offensive line has to give him time. If the offensive line gives him time and he is able to find receivers downfield, and sometimes if their people aren't there, take the check down, I don't think we're going to see that, backup second game kind of thing everyone's been talking about. It is true. Think about how many times the starter comes in and sets the world on fire, and then next week they come in and they're not all that great. I've seen that talk on Twitter. I've seen people saying stuff like that. It's a one-off. He's not going to come in and play like that on Saturday. I don't think it's true. I think Max Johnson is a good quarterback, an experienced quarterback that can come in and succeed, even when the defense has prepped for him and what he brings to the table. So the offensive line, though, I've talked a lot about Max Johnson in this key. It's going to come down to the offensive line giving him time, too. Now, if they bring 6, Max Johnson's going to have to be willing to dump the football off. He's going to have to be willing to find somebody open. But if they bring 4 or 5, you got to hope this offensive line gives him time and gives the receivers time to get open. And then obviously the flip side of that, If the receivers have time to get open, Max Johnson will have time to find them. So that is my number one key. It sounds like the Hogs want to bring pressure. If they're going to bring pressure, you have to give them time, give Max Johnson time in the pocket to find receivers and push the ball downfield. If that happens, I think you're going to see the offense flow well, move the ball through the air, and score a lot of points, which I do think you're going to need a lot of points to win this football game. That's the one thing I feel for sure. You're going to need to score a lot because I think the Hogs are going to score some points too. So you got to score, and if you want to score, you need to give Max Johnson time in the pocket. My next big key to a Texas A&M victory is staying on the field by converting third downs. That's one thing. It's funny how you look at stats and they kind of don't, you watch a game and then you watch the game again and things don't really hit you until you see the stats written down. Texas A&M's been pretty good on third down on offense this year. I have the numbers here. They're 23rd in college football on third down and third in the SEC. You got to keep that up because here's the deal. You got a new quarterback in. We can sit here. I mean, at the end of the day, Max Johnson will be the key to this game. We're not going to harp on it all show long, but he has to play well if the Aggies are going to win this football game. So staying on the field by converting third downs is going to be a big deal. Staying in front of the chains, no penalties, all part of it too. On first down, we want 4 or 5 yard gains. We don't want, 0, 1, and 2 yard gains. It's all going to play into it. But at the end of the day, Max Johnson is going to have to make some tough throws on third down. Receivers are going to have to get open on third down. And talking about the Hogs bringing pressure, they're going to bring pressure on third down. They're going to try and force bad decisions out of Max Johnson. He can't make them. He cannot make these bad decisions. He has to make the right decisions. And if he does make the right decisions continually, I think this offense will stay on the field, eat up clock, keep the defense off the field, keep them fresh, and hopefully keep Arkansas out of the end zone when they're on offense. So staying on the field on third down is going to be a big deal. We need to see that happen. Convert your third downs. You've done a good job at it so far this season. That needs to continue as we get deeper and deeper into SEC play. I don't think this Arkansas defense is anything crazy scary. I think the Aggies are going to score points and move the football, but staying on the field on third down is going to be a big part of that. If your defense is tired, if your defense isn't moving the ball all that well, or isn't stopping Arkansas, they're going to get tired. It's going to make it hard on them to make a stop late in the ball game when you really, really need one. So that is why you have to be able to move the football on third down and convert. If they convert, I think Texas A&M scores a lot of points. I think they put up good numbers, and I think we leave this game happy. If they struggle on third down and Max Johnson isn't having this game that we think he's going to have, we need him to have, that is when it's going to be a little concerning. So we need to see a big day from Max Johnson. We need a big day from him. He needs to move the football. He needs to find open receivers and convert on third down. And I don't want to sit here and act like all this is on Max Johnson. Receivers have to get open. The offensive line needs to give him time and block. It's not all on him. And I don't want to come off that way like I'm saying, if Max Johnson doesn't play well, we're not winning this football game. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is everybody's going to have to play well on the offensive side of the ball to win this game. Max Johnson can use his legs, but he doesn't use them quite as well as Connor Wigman. That is why he's going to have to find ways to find open receivers. Now he'll use his legs some. One of the highlights from last year's game was Max Johnson using his legs, a play that a penalty kind of brought back, but he can do it. So Max Johnson needs to have a good football game. If he has a good game, if he plays, let's say what he did last week against Auburn was a 10. If he gives us a 7, maybe even a 6, I think Texas A&M wins this game. If he gives us a 2 or a 3 or a 4, it's going to be tough for the Aggies to leave this ball game with a win. So Max Johnson has to have a good game. He needs to help this team convert on third down. The running backs and receivers and tight ends and offensive line obviously also need to help on that, but he's got to make good decisions. If Max Johnson makes good decisions and eludes pressure, gets the ball out quick, I think the Aggies win this football game. The next key is red zone Defense. Red zone defense, I've seen some people frustrated with it. And looking at the numbers, I think it's perfectly split down the middle to where you can be happy with it or you can be frustrated with it. But it's something that we need to talk about and look at. So we'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the best place to get your hair products, whether you're starting to have some hair thinning and you want to get that dealt with, or you just like their shampoos. I got sent their shampoos. They are amazing. They smell good. My hair doesn't get greasy for a long time, which is good because you don't want to have greasy hair. Nutrafol helps prevent that. It helps with hair thinning. Everybody goes through it. It's something that's part of life. Nutrafol helps you combat that. You have got to go check them out. I promise you will not regret it. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/min and enter promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/min, spelled Nutrafol.com/min, and enter promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Nutrafol.com/min, promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Go check them out. I promise you won't regret it. Red zone defense is the next thing that we're going to talk about right here today on Locked On Aggies. So there's different variables here, and we're going to kind of break through them. And this is some interesting stuff. I was not expecting this, to be honest with you. Opponents have been in the red zone 7 times against the Aggies. Now, you got to think about it. I don't think was Auburn ever in the red zone? I mean, their one touchdown was on a fumble rumble where, Jimbo almost made a good play. So I don't think Auburn was ever in the red zone. And it's funny, and then against Miami, more times than not, their touchdowns were, longer plays. I know they were in the red zone some, but most of their touchdowns came from deep, long touchdown passes. So, and then of course, they had a kickoff and return and that different stuff. So opponents have been in the red zone 7 times and scored 3 touchdowns. That number to me, I wouldn't say I'm extremely stoked about it, but I'm not upset about it. I feel like it's like if you added one more, if it was like opponents have been in the red zone 7 times and scored 4 touchdowns, I'd be mad. If you took one away, if you said they've been in the red zone 7 times and only scored 2 touchdowns, I'd be really happy. I feel like 3 is right in the middle to where it's like you can go either way with your opinion on it. I've seen some people concerned about the red zone defense. I've seen some people respond to those concerns and say, oh, no, I think it's been fine. But last year, red zone defense was a big deal in this game last year. If you remember right, the fumble that Damani Richardson ended up taking to the house off a handoff was a play where the KJ Jefferson tried to jump close to the goal line in the red zone. You made a stop, forced a fumble, take it to the house. Red zone defense will play a big role in this game. I think both offenses are going to move the football. Both teams are going to move the football. So you have to find a way to hold them to 3. Let's say Arkansas is in the red zone 6 times, okay, and they score 2 touchdowns and, kick 4 field goals. Well, of course, do I want them in the red zone 6 times? No. But if you tell me they're in the red zone 6 times and only score once or twice, score 7 points once or twice, I'll take that all day long. Keep the Razorbacks out of the end zone. 3 points, they can have as many 3-pointers as they want. We're not going to let them have touchdowns. So, and that's the bend, don't break. There's going to be points scored in this game. This is not going to be a 7-3 game. I have a feeling this is going to be a high-scoring ball game. So points are going to be scored. I would much rather allow 3 than 7. I think we can all agree on that. So this is going to be a big key for me, is allow them to score 3. Don't allow them to score 7. And hopefully red zone defense is something we kind of take away after this ball game as a positive. And we'll, of course, talk more about that in our recap show. And we'll probably talk about it a lot throughout the season because it's a big deal. But to this point, I'm happy with it, and I think all Aggie fans should be. So the next two keys to victory we have talked about a little bit, but I need to continue to, push them because they are so important. It sounds like Raheem Rocket Sanders is going to be out there. John Neighbors said that yesterday. I've heard that from my other Arkansas contact. It sounds like the Razorback star running back will be out there. That makes it a lot harder knowing that we have to stop KJ Jefferson and we have to stop Rocket Sanders. So, this is not going to be an easy ask for the Aggies. It's not going to be easy to stop these guys. You have to make sure that you keep contained on KJ Jefferson and you're stopping Rocket Sanders. This is not going to be easy. Talented quarterback who can run the football, big guy. Coach Fisher compared him to Cam Newton. Cam Newton was a big, strong running back, basically, as a quarterback. Cam Newton was a big guy, tall guy, but he could run the football like a running back, but he also threw the football well. It's why he was such a good quarterback at the college level and, of course, in the NFL. KJ Jefferson is similar in ways to me. He's a strong, big kid. He can run the football and he can throw the football. You have to contain him. You have to contain his arm. You have to contain his legs. And if you're able to do that, I think that you can succeed in this ball game. If you aren't able to do that, if you aren't able to stop him, I think they're going to score some points. So you have to stop KJ Jefferson from using his arm, using his legs, and then you also have to make sure Rocket Sanders doesn't run all over you. If you're able to stop those two guys, or not even stop, they're going to have yards. KJ Jefferson's going to have a few big runs, so is Rocket Sanders. So I guess another key, we'll kind of add it in, which kind of has to do with this and has to do with the red zone defense, bend and don't break. If Rocket Sanders rips off a 32-yard run, but you're able to stuff them, in the red zone and hold them to 3, we can live with that. Don't allow big runs to Rocket Sanders for touchdowns. Don't allow big runs to KJ Jefferson. Don't allow big throws. Limit the big plays. And that is a way that I think if the Aggies do that, they're going to leave this game with a victory. So containing those two guys, containing KJ Jefferson's arm, containing his legs, and then containing KJ Jefferson running the football are two keys to a victory for the Aggies. The last one, and we're going to get cliche. We are going to get cliche. We did yesterday. Win the turnover battle. I know it is so common, but when you look at the numbers on these two teams, the turnover battle is going to be huge in this game. Arkansas turned opponents over a lot. They're averaging 2 turnovers a game. The Aggies have only turned over opponents twice. Now, they've had some, they've gotten some breaks in special teams, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about turnovers on defense. You need to get them. You need to win this turnover battle. If you turn over the Razorbacks twice and the Aggies don't turn it over, or they only turn it over once, I think they win this game. I feel pretty confident that if you win the turnover battle, you win this football game. I think that if you don't win the turnover battle, that's when I think Arkansas has a genuine shot to win this game. So winning the turnover battle is another big key for me in this ball game. Max Johnson needs to keep the ball safe. The running backs, Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels, hold on to the football. Le'Veon Moss, you as well. Let's hold on to the football. Don't put it on the ground. Receivers, if you're catching the pass over the middle and you're going to get cracked, hold on to the football. Make sure we're not turning the ball over. If you don't turn the ball over, I think the Aggies win this game. So that's a big key, and it's asking a lot. It's asking a lot of a quarterback who hasn't had a ton of snaps this season to come in and be smart with the football, but he can do it. He's played a lot of SEC football games. He's played this team before, and it's not like, Connor Wigman got hurt the last play of the game and Max Johnson's coming in fresh to this game. He did get to play a half. He's played a little bit of football. He's gotten the rust out, and if getting the rust out looked like that, I don't want to know what Max Johnson with the rust off looks like. So we need a big game for Max Johnson, and we need everybody on this offense to take care of the football. Those are the keys to a win for me. Max Johnson, we'll run back there one time. Max Johnson, if they pressure you, take it to your checkdowns. Offensive line pick up the pressure so Max Johnson has time to push the ball downfield. Stay on the field on third down. Convert on third down. Move the football. Stay on offense. Keep your defense fresh. Stay strong in the red zone. Hold them to 3, not 7. Contain KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders, two of the best players on this team. They have a good tight end over there, but still, Rocket Sanders and KJ Jefferson are the guys that you need to make sure you contain. Win the turnover battle is the other one. If you do all these things, heck, I'll go as far to say if you do 4 of these 5 things, 3 of these 5 things, I think you win this football game. Succeed on the keys to a victory, and I think the Aggies win this game. We're going to talk about why this game is so important and why you got to win it, coming up right here on Locked On Aggies.
Now what happened?
But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet at FanDuel. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. This is a big football game. You got to win this one. You have got to win this one. I've talked about it a lot, and we need to reiterate it. It's funny how on Fridays I do my hype speech for the Aggies. I hope the players are listening to this because, I'm getting people pumped up right now. You got to win this football game. If you want to win this football game, if you want to go 2-3 in this stretch, if you want Alabama maybe next week, could it be College GameDay? I think that conversation is still in the air. I really do. If you want all that, you got to win this football game. All that's off the table if you don't win this football game. If you want to make a run at the SEC West, it's possible. I mean, listen, Ole Miss has a loss. You got a chance. Auburn's got a loss. Which they aren't very good. But everybody's got a loss now. I mean, not everybody. I'm saying people are picking up losses. Win this game, you've got yourself in position to potentially win the West. You've got to keep winning football games. You have to win this one. And then you have to find a way to steal one from Bama or Tennessee. You have to find a way to win maybe the Ole Miss or the Tennessee game. The SEC this year is down. There's a chance that a not your normal team wins the SEC West and plays who we assume is going to be the Georgia Bulldogs. So this is a big game. You got to go out there and fight. It's going to be a weird one. It's going to be a high-scoring one, I think. It's going to be a game where I think it's going to be close. Like John Neighbor said yesterday, this game does always seem to be close, even though this game seems to always be close, even though the Aggies more times than not are going to win this game. Find a way to win a close one. Or do something you haven't really done, and that's just go win this football game big. Go beat the brakes off the Razorbacks. I think Arkansas is a good team. I don't think they've had the starts of the year they've wanted, the fan base has wanted. We can all agree on that. But I still think this Arkansas team is a quality, good football team that needs to find a way to win a game, and you can't let them if you're the Aggies. Arkansas needs this win. So do you. In the game, you're 0-1, I think, in games that the Miami game where you needed it, they needed it. It was a battle of two teams that needed a rebound season, and the Miami Hurricanes came out on top. Both teams right now need this win. Arkansas, they don't want to go to 2-3. Texas A&M, you don't want to go to 3-2. You want to win this football game. Go win this game. Get yourself to 4-1. Get yourself ready for the Alabama Crimson Tide to come to town. It's a big game. Let's go. Let's beat the heck out of the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is a big game, ladies and gentlemen. Let's win this one. Bring this one home. Have fun playing neutral site. It's cool for these guys to get to play in this environment in the stadium. It's really cool. I hope that some of y'all are getting the travel. I hope their families get the travel. It's going to be a fun game. The Aggies need to win this one. A lot of keys to victory here. Texas A&M needs to leave this game with a win if the goals for this season want to be achieved. Before we call it a day here on Locked On Aggies, I do want to shout out the volleyball team. Congrats, ladies. Big win on the road in the swamp against the number 4 team in the land, the Gators. You take down the number 4 Gators at their place. Big win. Congrats, ladies. That's really cool to see. Glad to see this volleyball team is succeeding. All the Aggies do is win. Great job, ladies. Hopefully continued success for them the rest of the year, and we'll continue to shout them out on the show. that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for tuning in every single day. It means the world to me. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day today. Have a great weekend. We will have a reaction show coming up on after the ball game on Saturday. Bring you a reaction, whatever happens. We'll break about it. We'll break it down, talk a little bit about the game. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow. We will see you for the reaction show on Saturday.